Guys, I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille Show. We want to be the water cooler of conversation and chitter-chatter in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and in Central Virginia. What we try to do is relay 8 to 9 headlines each day at 12:30 p.m. to you that we think are the hot topics of conversation for this particular 24-hour news cycle. Some days we have a boatload of content and headlines that cannot make the rundown, which is what you see on screen. Other days, we're searching for content. Lately, in this area, we've had more content than we could accommodate in a headline rundown, the items you see on screen. A couple of items out of the notebook I want to get to first. The Friends of CVille nonprofit, they champion downtown Charlottesville. A lot of stakeholders in downtown Charlottesville are part of Friends of CVille. They are going to launch a new show. Their executive director, Greer, how would you pronounce Greer's last name?
Achenbach.
Greer Achenbach. She's fantastic, well-spoken, connected, fantastic champion of downtown Charlottesville. She's going to host the program. The Downtown Spotlight will launch tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Greer Achenbach is going to host it, and you're going to see a number of local influencers and stakeholders on that show. Tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. on social media, podcasting platforms, the Friends of CVille Facebook page, and, of course, the I Love CVille Network. We're very excited for the newest addition to our content lineup on the I Love CVille Network. Greer Achenbach, I think she's going to have tremendous success with that show. A couple items out of the notebook. Today's 9/11. I was at the University of Virginia as a second year when 9/11 transpired, and I remember watching from Lambeth Commons, watching planes, just a domestic act of terrorism. Today, an anniversary, as my wife said, never forget. I think what happened on 9/11 is something that we should let our children know about when they're of age and remember. We live in the best country in the world, and it's not even close. And sometimes, as members and citizens of the best country of the world, we become enamored with our own press. And maybe that's tied to democracy and freedom of speech. Maybe it's tied to our economy, our stock exchanges, the impact our economy has on the global GDP. Maybe it's the fact that countries all over this world want to be America, and they want to be a part of the red, white, and blue in some capacity. And for all the positive that we have for being citizens in this fantastic country, we must also remember that there are times in our history where we've been vulnerable, times in our history where we have been scared. And that's called perspective. 9/11 was certainly one of those times. I could think of very few other times in my life where on American soil I was fearful. One of my fraternity brothers, his father, in one of those towers. For hours he could not connect with his dad, and I watched my friend scramble and have just an array of emotions. Fortunately, his father, one of them that did not perish. As I get off this topic, I encourage everyone to never forget what 9/11 was about and that feeling of vulnerability and fear, because that will offer perspective for all of us at a time where America garners all the headlines. All right, a lot I want to cover on the show. A debate last night. This show is not about politics. Last night's debate, say what you want, I found it embarrassing on both sides. Some of the commentary Trump offered just left me mouth agape, and come on, man, did you really just say that? This doesn't make you look great. Charlottesville once again came up in a national debate. I thought some of the things Harris outlined, in particular with her economic development strategy, very concerning. Offering a $25,000 tax credit to first-time home purchasers, first-time home buyers. A $25,000 incentive for first-time buyers is just going to create inflation for first-time inventory. Haven't we learned from yesteryear, years past? Haven't we learned from the pandemic? What happens if you pump money into an economy? You just print more money. It's going to create inflation. It's going to have collateral damage. Giving first-time home buyers $25K a juice is just going to create housing inflation. We must see the obvious. 8 weeks away from an election, and I continue to find myself scratching my head saying, are these really the options we have to leave the best country in the world? Let's go to Charlottesville and the Board of Visitors. The BOV is meeting today, tomorrow, and Friday. The BOV has an agenda that is absolutely incredibly loaded. It's going to talk about suspending the university guide service. It's going to talk about free speech. It's going to talk about the new protest rules and regulations that are in play that limits free speech, that prevents students from sleeping outside and protesting basically overnight. And it's certainly going to talk about a report that has yet to be released with 3 UVA football players that were murdered on grounds. And it's going to undoubtedly talk about a letter that now Jim Ryan has responded to, and embattled CEO Craig Kent and the embattled dean of the medical school, Melina Kibbe, have responded to. I would say the BOV meeting that's going to happen today, Thursday and Friday, some of the most hot topic issues I've seen for a BOV in some time. To be a fly on the wall with the men and women that lead the university and are the bosses of President Jim Ryan. We'll get a taste of it in the open session, but the real stuff happens in closed session. Let's see if real tangible policy or real tangible action results from this 3-day sprint. I think with Youngkin having control of the board now, we may see tangible action more than we've seen in a long period of time. Time will certainly tell. I'm going to weave Judah Wickower in on a 2-shot as I highlight a fantastic restaurant on West Main Street, Mexicali restaurant. I encourage you, the viewer and listener, to try River Hawkins and Johnny Ornales' latest creation. Parking is abundant. There's 50 spaces right at the bottom of the building. Free parking. You park there, you're steps away from just a dynamite restaurant. Mexicali in the old World of Beer location. Judah, Greene County Supervisor Francis, what are we going to call him?
McGuigan?
McGuigan? McGuigan?
McGuigan, yeah. That's what I've got.
This guy might be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs right now. I read on Monday on the Free Enterprise Forum in a blog post titled "Changing the Referee Does Not Change the Rules," a blog post authored by Neil Williamson, that this gentleman is proposing to increase the complexity of approvals in the interest of increasing elected officials' impacts.
Increasing the complexity?
He wants the Board of Supervisors to be the zoning administrator in Greene County. The problem, Virginia State Code, as Neil highlights, expressly provides that the rules must be met for site plan approval If the plan meets all the objective checklist items, it must be approved. If the site plan does not meet those objective criteria, it must be rejected, and the basis of the rejection must be stated so as to allow the applicant the opportunity to refile the plan with the problem remedied.
So is he basically saying that the instructions are already in place and working, and there's no need to further cloud the process?
What Neil is saying is we already have rules and regulations in place.
Yeah.
And we're a Dillon rule state. So what jurisdictions can do pretty much is determined by the Commonwealth and elected officials in Richmond.
Yeah.
And this supervisor, the at-large supervisor in Greene, says, hey, I want to give the zoning power to the Board of Supervisors with projects.
Yeah.
And we want total control. I want total control. And Neil highlights on Monday that that's not the way this works. Now, today, on his Facebook page, he published this not even a day ago. It's been brought to my attention by a few people. He posts on his personal Facebook page, the at-large supervisor in Greene County, 3 or 4 sentences that pretty much put a local attorney, Nicole Scro, in the crossfire. This is what he wrote, and he included screenshots. His words on his Facebook page, Francis McGuigan.
Yeah.
Just figured I'd let you see what is happening under the hood on the proposal to turn site plan approvals back to the Board of Supervisors for subdivisions and SUPs in the agricultural and conservation districts. Apparently, real estate developers are scared. This is an email and letter sent by Nicole M. Scro, Esquire, regarding tonight's proposal. What she does not reveal that she's been a Charlottesville developer since 2018. See her attached LinkedIn profile. Consider sending her an email suggesting she stay out of Greene County affairs. I just find this commentary bewildering at best, harassment and insulting at absolute worst.
Definitely insulting. I wouldn't even put that at worst.
Okay, I'll rephrase. Bewildering with me offering the supervisor grace, insulting reality, harassment potentially.
Yeah.
An elected official on a Facebook page that basically is the platform for the official is going after land use attorney Nicole Scro. And Nicole Scro has come on the I Love CVille show before.
Yeah.
Did business with Nicole, done business this year with Nicole Scro. Currently doing a deal right now with Nicole Scro that's in a pending scenario. Nicole and I, from time to time, have not seen eye to eye. But one thing I can say about Nicole Scro, and I hope she's watching and listening to this, one thing I can say about Ms. Scro is she is prepared, nuanced, experienced,
Yeah.
educated, well-versed,
Dedicated.
focused, dedicated, an asset to any client, excellent at her job. And the fact that she is a developer, and yes, she's developed property. She's got 2 or 3 fantastic houses right next to the Woolen Mills storage units. I thought they were an excellent display of her development skill set. Other projects as well that we can highlight. The fact that she is a Charlottesville developer and has been doing it since 2018 is an asset to her client in Greene County.
No doubt.
Wouldn't you want, if you're bringing a project to market, she's representing a significant landowner in Greene County, wouldn't you want, if you're a significant landowner in Greene County, to have your representation not only nuanced and experience in the letter of law and how zoning and projects work, but also have the experience of doing it yourself?
Yeah.
And for the supervisor, I mean, I'm not one to get on a high horse and wag my finger and shame him, but to use your Facebook platform to, is this a threat? Stay out of Greene County affairs?
I don't know if it's a threat, but it's just, I mean, is that really necessary? Consider sending her an email suggesting she stay out of Greene County affairs. I don't know if it's a threat, but
screenshotting her LinkedIn?
Yeah.
What are we in the cafeteria? And we're sending Snapchats back and forth to each other on Hamburger Day about Jennifer making out with Sarah's boyfriend? And Sarah angry and saying nasty things about Jennifer behind her back?
Do we know why they're so eager to make this change?
There's a large portion of Greene County that does not want any more development.
And so this is them taking the reins or trying to take the reins. And
this is an at-large supervisor who is clearly anti-development, trying to regain control of what he feels is a county that has gotten unrecognizable. And there are many in Greene County that have become frustrated because Charlottesville and Albemarle County have become so expensive. And because Charlottesville and Albemarle County have become so expensive, big-time developers, for example, Stanley Martin, are choosing to develop projects right over the Albemarle County line in Greene because they realize that if they're able to bring projects to market in Greene, they can acquire and potentially come to market at a price that is more affordable, not only to them, but to a larger pack of consumers. And on top of that, Albemarle County, with its limitations with development, only 5% of the county allocated to commercial and residential development. And many supervisors have said on this program, including Diantha McKeel, that until the 5% is completely developed in totality, there's no point of expanding the developmental area. All these things are driving business, housing, density to Greene.
Right.
And the old guard, the OG in Greene, and I'm not just talking about the Morrises and the Shiflets. I'm talking about most of Greene is saying enough already. Our kids are learning in trailers. Traffic is an absolute nightmare. And just a couple of months ago, we had water restrictions on our H2O where we couldn't take baths or water our lawn.
Yeah.
And a lot of this has to do with the fact that Charlottesville and Albemarle County have become so entirely expensive that the development is heading there and the development is heading to Louisa.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. What bookends Charlottesville and Albemarle County? Louisa and Greene. And I get that the supervisor is trying to flex, right? Puff his chest out. But offering, I mean, that's a stick out of Greene. I'd say that's a threat. Regardless, it's unprofessional.
Yeah, definitely.
Neil Williamson watching the program. He says, for what it's worth, Supervisor McGuigan's resolution failed to get a second in last night's Greene BOS meeting. Roger Voisinay with some compelling commentary. Thank you, Roger. Mr. McGuigan is trying to do a development in Charlottesville right now. Roger Voisinay has been around the block, knows real estate like the Pope knows holy water. He's letting us know that the supervisor in Greene County, who's puffing and flexing and stay the hell out of God's country, is now doing a project in Charlottesville right now. There's a good little tidbit of information from the water cooler of Charlottesville. Thank you, Roger Voisinay. Philip Down, Logan Wells, Claylo, welcome to the show. TV station and newspaper watching us right now. And this is from my experience. When you get reaction like this from people in influence or control or leadership, whether it's in business, in politics, when you see reactions like this, it's done from a base of fear.
And guilt, maybe?
It's done from a base of fearing the loss of control and influence. John Blair watching the program. I will only say this, Nicole Scro is very good and competent land use attorney. I'd listen to and consider any legal point she makes, regardless of the jurisdiction. I concur. In fact, last week, I passed along a client with a business brokerage deal that we're working to Miss Scroll to help us get the deal through the finish line. Worked alongside Miss Scro earlier this year on a business brokerage deal in Southside Charlottesville, Albemarle County. And I don't want to speak as if I was her, but the attorney I know, the Nicole Scroll I know, she ain't worried about this. Deep Throat offering some perspective. We'll get to him. He says, I have to disagree with Neil Williamson here on the principle, even if I agree on the specific substance, i.e. that the supervisors should not be zoning administrators. We have a zoning administrator in CVille. It is the head of the Neighborhood Development Services. And that position was recently filled. I'll get to that story shortly. Deep Throat also says, it could be somebody else or a collection of somebodies. The zoning code offers a certain amount of latitude to the zoning administrator to give waivers. It's part of the code. To me, on the Nicole Scro thing, the answer is no. I would not hire an attorney who's a competitor. I want lawyers who are lawyers, not someone who has their own interest in development precedent might work out. If I found out that any of the lawyers that I used to sue sovereigns was doing this on his or her own, or even trading this stuff, they would instantly be fired. I rarely disagree with Deep Throat. In this particular circumstance, I will disagree with him. I think her experience as a developer makes her more of an asset for her client. Her experience as a developer makes her more of an asset as a client. I have another attorney that we use for business purposes, and this particular gentleman is Johnny Pritzloff, just walked by the studio right there, one of the top commercial brokers out there. This attorney that we use, I have found, is one of the few so far in our 16 years of being self-employed that understands the nuance of small business as much as we do. Many times, the counsel you're getting with attorneys is counsel to protect you from legal exposure. And that's great. If that's the counsel you're getting from your attorney, protect yourself from legal exposure, that's what you sign up for. But there are those rare circumstances where you can get counsel from attorneys that not only protects you from legal exposure, but also pushes you as an entrepreneur, as a CEO and business owner, to consider other aspects of the business side that you may or may not have considered. Revenue, management, hedging. I was in a meeting last night at the Mill Room at Boar's Head with a prominent broker and a client that's doing development. It's got a development project in the city of Charlottesville, a small one, and he's got a remodel and flip about to take place in the city. He also has a 3 or 4 unit project that he owns. So this client is getting into the real estate game through buy and hold and rent, through buy, remodel, and flip, through buy, tear down, permit and sell, or buy, tear down, develop and hold, or buy, tear down, develop and sell. He's really getting into the game here. And he's got upside because of the value proposition associated with a 1031 that he's doing, where he's got to put some money on the street. And he's got to do it in a very timely fashion. So me and this prominent broker, I'm having an old-fashioned, a double IPA for our client, our martini for the broker. We're eating some bar nuts and we're talking strategy. Back of the napkin strategy, hashing out opportunity and upside before we walk the various lots on Monday and Tuesday of next week. And when we're talking with our client, we're looking at it from a potential, we're looking at it from a funding, we're looking at it from a hedge, we're We're looking at it from a risk tolerance. We're looking at it from a timeliness for the 1031 because you have very limited time to put the money into action, very limited time to identify property. And we're looking at it for what's best all around for his family. My point is this. He trusted me, who then brought in someone I trust, to figure out what the best path of attack for him and a sizable chunk of money is over a very short period of time. We offer that counsel to people, and when I'm meeting with other folks that I trust, I like to get the most well-rounded counsel possible. And in Ms. Scro's case, she's got the upside of doing the development herself while also being an extremely educated and talented attorney that compartmentalizes or limits risk for clients.
Yeah.
I'll close with this. It's not every day that you see elected officials utilizing Facebook to threaten attorneys.
Yeah.
Or at least bark at them to stay out of their jurisdiction. And I just found out that he's doing a project in the city of Charlottesville from Roger Voisinay. Irony at best, hypocrisy at worst.
I would say irony at its finest.
What do we say to Mr. McGuigan? Hey, Mr. McGuigan, yo, Francis, stay out of Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Hey, Franny boy.
We don't want your kind here.
Hey, Franny boy, stay out of Charlottesville. So what should we say to Francis? Thank you, Roger Voisinay, for that tidbit. Neil Williamson, thank you for the blog post on the Free Enterprise Forum. Frankly, Francis, thank you for fodder for the Wednesday edition of the I Love CVille Show. Next headline, Judah Wickhauer, what do we have?
Let's see. Next we've got...
And if you want to read his post, just Facebook search Francis X McGuigan, McGuigan. It was done less than a day ago. It's the second post down on his Facebook page. He's posting screenshots of her LinkedIn. Insane in the membrane. Next headline, J-Dubs.
Tourists spent $1 billion in CVille in 2023.
Yeah, how about this story? This according to the Charlottesville Albemarle Convention and Visitors Bureau. In 2023, nearly $1 billion spent by tourists, $956 million to be exact, nearly 6% increase over 2022. This represents about 3% of total visitor spending in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's insane. Mm-hmm. The $956 million represents about 3% of total visitor spending in the entire Commonwealth in 2023. Of course, this spending rides the coattails of Food and Wine magazine calling this the wine region of the world in 2024. And of course, we were nominated by the local palate as one of the top culinary towns in the South. This $956 million in tourist spending generates $47 million in local taxes for Charlottesville and for Albemarle County, and 7,000 jobs in the region. Now, some folks have made the argument that the jobs generated through food and beverage are the jobs that create a housing affordability crisis. This is a double-edged sword here. $1 billion by tourists generates 7,000 F&B jobs. The F&B jobs that have been generated don't pay enough for the 7,000 people to be able to afford to live in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. Mm-hmm. Are we creating our own problem?
I think the problem's been growing across.
Is it unavoidable? We continue to get accolades for wine, accolades for beer, accolades for music, accolades for food, accolades for hiking, accolades from the University of Virginia. We win national championships. We have an incredible quality of life. People want to live here. They want to move here. They're intoxicated by Charlottesville. This continues to drive up the cost of living. This continues to create tourism opportunity, which creates jobs tied to that opportunity. And the jobs that are created are jobs that cannot afford to live in the area they are serving. Think about that. Mm-hmm. I would bet you if 2023 was $1 billion, 956 to be exact, that in 2024 it's going to be higher. Would you not?
Most likely.
Does that mean more than 7,000 jobs in 2024?
Could be.
And if you get more than 7,000 jobs in 2024, where are the folks going to live? All that's happening at the same time that the population is increasing, that UVA is expanding, that Amazon's investing $11 billion, Northrop Grumman's doing $300 million in Waynesboro, $94,000 average salary for that $300 million Northrop Grumman facility. Data science, biotech, work from home, hybrid, population increase. Ain't getting cheaper. Still more of the 7,000 F&B jobs that can't afford to live here. What do you do?
I don't know if there's anything to do. I don't think this is just a problem in our area either. I think this is a problem that's probably most likely global. I think everything is getting...
I don't think it's global.
You don't think it's global?
No.
We've been talking about the affordability of life for a while now. You don't think it's global?
You think Martinsville has this issue?
I think there may be places...
You think places in western North Carolina have this issue? You think Newport News, Virginia has this issue?
Does it not?
I think this is a problem that, while not specific to Charlottesville, I'll agree with you that, it's not an issue that every jurisdiction is dealing with. We talked on Friday's edition of Real Talk. The places that have housing affordability are the places where the economy's not doing that well.
Exactly, yeah. I'm not saying that this is happening in every single city across the globe, but come on. You're saying, oh, it's not happening in places where nobody wants to live. Well, of course it's not. Of course there are no affordability problems where nobody wants to live.
Well, you keep hiring $15 an hour frontline F&B workers. At the same time, the population is increasing and the student body is increasing.
But the population is only increasing in places where it's favorable to live.
Where will the additional people live?
I don't know.
Is it a good, maybe we characterize it this way, this is a good problem to have?
Sure, if you want to.
They just hired a head of neighborhood development services.
Okay.
City of Charlottesville just filled the NDS role. And one of her primary objectives, it's Kelly Brown. Kelly Brown joined City Hall after serving in a similar role in Arlington County. James Fries was the former head of NDS, done Laura's finest. He is now the city's deputy director of operations. He made a statement on Monday saying, "We're excited that Kelly Brown is coming to Charlottesville to head NDS. One of the key components for her job is the implementation of the new zoning ordinance. A new zoning ordinance that, as of now, has had very little housing impact."
Yeah.
This position was marketed and promoted on the city website, having a range between $130,000 and $174,720 in compensation. The job's been marketed and promoted since March. They just filled it. One of the reasons they hired Miss Brown and attracted her from Arlington County is because in Arlington, they did something very similar to what the Charlottesville jurisdiction's going to do. Upzoning. Arlington passed an upzoning ordinance in March of 2023. The city of Charlottesville did it in December of 2023, 9 months later. She's also got some props in the hiring because she also worked on she co-authored a plan that, according to the city's statement, transformed a 5-mile commercial corridor into a walkable green neighborhood Main Street. Does that sound familiar to you? Kelly Brown and Arlington County transformed a 5-mile commercial corridor into a walkable green neighborhood Main Street. What does that sound like to you?
I mean,
What does that sound like to you in Charlottesville?
5 miles? I mean, are you talking about the downtown mall?
Obviously.
Okay.
She took a 5-mile commercial corridor, transformed it into a walkable green neighborhood Main Street. What is struggling right now in the city of Charlottesville?
The downtown mall.
What can City Hall now tout? We got someone from Arlington County. We hired her. We took her away from Arlington. We're going to pay her top dollar, at least according to jurisdictional pay scales. And her focus is going to be running neighborhood development services, and her sub-focuses are going to be the practicality and execution of the new zoning ordinance and the quality of life improvement and betterment of the most important 8 blocks in a 300,000-person market, the downtown mall. I like that they made this hire. I want to see how quickly she's able to get up to speed, most specifically with the downtown mall. I think the NZO is, in its current form, disastrous. The affordable housing requirements, insane in the membrane. NZO is going to create housing stock that's as expensive as all get out. I've outlined why. It's made the dirt for purchases more opportunistic because it has more upside, so people are going to pay more for it. And this is all happening at a time where interest rates are high, labor wages are high, cost of goods are high, and a population is coming here with Scrooge McDuck bags of money. Maybe she does some good things with the downtown mall. Regardless, you got to give Sam Sanders some props. Sam Sanders has caught some heat on this talk show, the city manager. He caught most of the heat for Sandersville and the Market Street Park, the 2023 version of Hooverville, where he allowed a shanty town to spring for a month. And quickly realized he made a major mistake with that, Sam Sanders. And then he asked the police to do his dirty work to get Hooverville or Sandersville broken down. What Sam Sanders did with Hooverville, with Sandersville, the homeless encampment on Market Street in the park, very similar to what Jim Ryan did with breaking up the pro-Palestine protest on grounds. Jim Ryan, president of UVA, Sam Sanders, CEO, Charlottesville, city manager.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan utilizes the police as his henchmen to be the bad guys and break up a pro-Palestine protest. Sam Sanders utilizes the police to be his henchmen to break down Sandersville.
I don't see those as
Using
even
the police in the
slightest
wrong
bit
capacities.
similar. Okay.
Utilizing the police in the wrong capacities, creating a feeling of resentment toward the police, making the police be pawns. Not what the police are for, breaking up Sandersville or a pro-Palestine protest. That's not what the police forces are for.
Okay.
I give him props on today's show because he's filling the positions. He's got his lieutenants filled, and he's filling now upper management. And neighborhood development services director is a very key position. What other headlines we have today? Wednesday edition of the show.
In more wild news,
This is insane. Is this the Fluvanna story?
Yeah, gun manufacturer is advertising in a Fluvanna school.
Can you give me the who, what, when, where, why on this? Fellas and ladies, listen to this. This is Fluvanna County. What are you doing here?
This is This is another case of people taking, taking feedback and returning with vitriol and anger, and it's crazy. A company called Red Arrow has donated to a Fluvanna school, and parents found out about it and were, I think, rightfully concerned, because they're not just donating; they're basically going to
Let them know what Red Arrow is.
Red Arrow is a weapons manufacturer, gun manufacturer, and I don't care. I don't have any problem with gun manufacturers.
This is insane.
But there's basically they are going to be advertising during a school event and passing out, I believe, pins and things with logos on them for a gun manufacturer.
Is this called Red Arrow Weapons?
Yeah.
All right, I'll give a little more insight.
And
here.
they have several other parts of the company.
Red Arrow Weapons online at redarrowweapons.com. They got a P.O. box in Fork Union, Virginia. Mm-hmm. Fork Union, Fluvanna County.
And one of the school board members for Fluvanna works for them.
Right. So you got a local company in Fork Union raising funds, donating funds to Fluvanna County Public Schools.
Yeah. I have no problem with them donating.
No problem at all with them donating.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
have no
wonderful.
problem with them donating. Should their ads and branding be in school, on school grounds?
Yeah.
I just went to the redarrowweapons.com website and I was prompted to click a pop-up.
Yeah.
And to
Are you 18?
say that I'm 18 or older. So, hey, here's a branding element at a area that's populated by minors.
Yeah.
Go check us out. Oh, but you have to be 18 or older to visit my website.
Right.
At a time when school shootings are still a horrific reality for parents and teachers and administrators and support staff.
Yeah.
Do you have an issue that a gun manufacturer is going to have their branding and ads on Fluvanna County school grounds?
I think it's crazy. And then they got angry. They got angry that parents were angry, which is always fun, and started calling parents concerned about the weapons manufacturer advertising to children at a school fundraiser. They're referring to the parents as Antifa and saying that they're lying about the donation, accused parents of having known about this for a long time, but waiting until the day of the school shooting in Georgia to start posting about it. I mean, come on.
Look,
That's obviously unfortunate, but
I believe in the right to bear arms.
yeah.
I'm a huge supporter of the right to bear arms. Does the average citizen need to have weaponry that sprays hundreds of bullets a minute? Probably not. But that's not what this is about.
And
What
I don't
this
think
is
you
about-
can buy those weapons either.
What this is about is a gun manufacturer in Fork Union, Virginia, in Fluvanna, advertising at a school function where minors are present.
Yeah.
And I would say the optics of this are not great. What is the difference between having a gun manufacturer advertising at a school event and a cigarette manufacturer advertising at a school event? Guns, you have to be 18 to own. Cigarettes, you have to be 18 to smoke. What is the difference between a gun manufacturer advertising at a school event and a marijuana manufacturer advertising at a public school event? Smoke some weed, 18, you're good to go. Smoke some ciggy butts, some lung butter sticks, 18, you're good to go. Buy a gun, 18, you're good to go. Would parents raise holy hell if a ganja guru had their advertising at a middle school football game or a middle school field hockey game? Hells to the yeah.
I imagine they would.
Would mommy and daddy have an issue if the Marlboro Man was the primary sponsor of the junior varsity volleyball scoreboard? Hells to the yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How's it any different with a gun manufacturer?
Yeah.
Sincere question. 18 to smoke weed, 18 to smoke cigarettes, 18 to buy a gun. Why is it any different? The optics aren't great.
No.
Just not good optics. And you learn in business, and it takes you a while to learn this. This was one of the most difficult things you learn in business. When you first start your company, we're 16 and a half years of being self-employed. When you first start your company, you chase every dollar. Every dollar you go after, you're like, oh, this is revenue. This is incremental revenue. I need this revenue to grow the business. Go after every single dollar out there. About 8 or 9 years in, I've been self-employed for 16 and change. I realized not every dollar is the same. And you don't need to chase every dollar. And in fact, some dollars you chase will cost you money. And some of the best business I've ever done is saying no to business and passing on clients. Mm-hmm. And it took me a while to get to that point. Because some clients ask more than others, demand more than others, consume more than others.
Yeah.
Not all fundraising dollars are the same. Some fundraising dollars have fallout. And when you put the advertisements of a gun manufacturer at a middle school wrestling match, you're going to have brouhaha from parents. Mm-hmm. Our last headline, is it the Colandrea one?
Let's see. Yeah, we've got Colandrea.
All right, you could close on a one-shot. I'll give some love to Pro Renata. If you're looking for a spot, ladies and gentlemen, to watch Virginia football play the Maryland Terrapins, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Maryland's a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under's at 57 and change. I suggest Pro Renata. Locations in Stanton, the old Skipping Rock location, downtown Stanton, and of course in Crozet. The Crozet spot is the Disney World of Crozet. Playgrounds for kids, fire pits for kids and parents, Moo Through for kids and parents, Dino's Pizza for kids and parents, some of the best beer out there, and it's basically become a sports bar. It's pretty dynamic. Pro Renata is a brand that's employing a boatload of people, and it's growing quickly. Very impressed with Dr. Shabe and his team. Anthony Colandrea is in the top 20 in 4 national categories, the second-year gunslinger for the University of Virginia. Colandrea is currently 10th in passing yards nationally, 19th in touchdown passes nationally, 9th in completion percentage nationally, and 20th in rating nationally. In addition, Anthony Colandrea is one of 4 quarterbacks nationally in the top 25 for all 4 categories. You're looking at a guy who's a second year that has massive upside. And when Virginia plays Maryland, 8 o'clock, Scott Stadium, Saturday, I hope to God the fan base supports the football team and shows up by the masses. Because if you have another 20 or 25,000 person showing at a 60,000 plus seat Scott Stadium, that's going to look pretty awful on the ACC network under the lights. And it could be very reflective that the football program is mired in apathy despite having upside and success on the gridiron. So fill the stands. And props to this guy, Colandrea, that may be the hope the program needs. For Judah Wickhauer, my name is Jerry Miller. So long, everybody.